Good morning, class. Today we are going to start a lesson on volume, more specifically, how much space an object takes up. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand and explain what volume is, and use a formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism. Now, before we could talk about volume, I do want to bring up what we have previously talked about, and that is with 2D shapes and more specifically a rectangle. And we can find the area of a rectangle by multiplying length times width. We also have talked a little bit about 3D shapes, and 3D shapes have a third dimension. So they have length, width, and they also have height. You can use these dimensions, length, width, and height, and you can use those dimensions to find the volume of an object, or in other words, the amount of space that object takes up. So again, the definition for volume is the measurement of how much space a three-dimensional object takes up. And if you look here, we have a rectangular prism, and we're going to focus on finding the volume of a rectangular prism using length, width, and height. And the good news is volume is actually very easy to find once you figure out what the length, the width, and the height is. And that's because the formula is simply taking length times width times height, and abbreviated L times W times H. There's also another formula, and you may see a problem where they give you the area of the base times the height, and that would be a capital B times H. So let's take a look at an example. We'll use length times width times height for this example. So if we look at this one, we see that we have 10 centimeters as the length, we have 2 centimeters as the width, and 3 centimeters as the height. Now, in order to find volume, all I have to do is multiply those three numbers together. So we have 10 times 2 times 3. And as we know about multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you multiply those numbers in because we are multiplying all three numbers. So we have 10 times 2, which would give us 20, and then 20 times 3, which would give us 60 centimeters cubed. Now, please note that when we find area, which is length times width, and that's a two-dimensional shape, we square it because it's 2 dimensions. But now that we are finding volume, our unit is going to be cubed because it is a 3-dimensional shape. Let's take a look at another example. I would like you to pause the video, and I would like to see if you can figure out the volume of this shape. Okay, so if you found the volume of this shape, you would have seen that there's 12 for the length, 4 for the width, and 3 for the height. So all you have to do is take those three numbers and multiply them together. 12 times 4 times 3. And again, it doesn't matter what order that we multiply them in. So you may have had slightly different numbers, but as long as your final answer matches, then you are good. 12 times 4 would have given you 48, and 48 times 3 would give you 144. Now notice I put units cubed, and that's because in this example, they did not give us a unit. So we are going to assume or just use units because you never want to just leave it as 144. You want to put that, although we don't know the unit, we can at least express units cubed. Okay, let's try another one. Again, I would like you to pause the video and try doing this one first before checking your answer. Okay, for this one, we have 7 for the length, 7 centimeters. We have 2 centimeters for the width, and 4 centimeters for the height. So you should have gotten 7 times 2 times 4. 7 times 2 is 14, and 14 times 4 would give us 56 centimeters cubed. Let's look at one more. And this one is, we're going to use the formula for volume, but a different one. We're going to use area of the base. So I'd like you to take a look at this picture. If you notice, it's highlighted in green, and that capital B is there. And there's an arrow pointing to inside, and it's giving you 15 inches squared. And we know that this is not one of the dimensions it's giving us. This is giving us the entire area of the base, because for two reasons. One, the arrow is pointing to the whole square, which is on the base of this rectangular prism, and it is inches squared. So you don't see just inches there, you see inches squared, which tells you that they already multiplied length times width to get the area. So for this example, we have length times width, which gave us 15 inches squared. And then we're going to multiply that with the height. So you would get 15 times 5. And 15 times 5 is 75 inches cubed. And let's take a look at an example similar to this one. I'd like you to pause the video and try this one on your own. Okay, you should have gotten 21 times 9, and 21 times 9 is 189 feet cubed. I hope that you got these few problems correct, but what I would like you to do, since this tutorial is almost over, I would like you to go to this website, and if you continue looking down, it will have plenty of activities for you to practice and a quiz at the end for you to test yourself to see if you mastered this material. Thank you.